Hi there, friend. I'm Charlene Gray. Welcome to Landscape Elevation. On this channel, I visit with you each week to talk about all things landscape design, whether you're just getting started with your side hustle or you're already a pro and have a number of seasons under your belt. I hope the things I talk about here are helpful to you. Now today, I'm going to shed some light on 3 realities you may or may not realize to be true about working as a landscape designer. And I think for the most part, these 3 realities are timeless. So, when most people think of a landscape designer, they probably think, oh, well, that's the person who comes in after the house is fixed or built and makes everything outside of the house look pretty. Well, so yes, those people are absolutely correct about eventually making the outside of the house look pretty, but I would add that in the high-end residential home market, you are developing a plan for the entire site. You know, not just those silly foundation plantings that people put in for curb appeal. So I just need to start out by saying that you as the landscape designer should be involved in the building process long before the house is all fixed up or finished being built. In order to give your landscape design its best shot at making a site come alive, you need to get yourself involved in the site decision-making process long before that site is ready to even begin looking pretty. And in doing so, there is a long list of site design decisions that you will be able to stick your nose into, and someday I hope to walk you through more of these. But zooming out from site design details, I've come up with these 3 things that I think are worth knowing about if you are considering a career or a side hustle as a landscape designer. And if you already are a landscape designer, I'd love to hear about whether these things also ring true for you. So, the first thing to realize and be totally okay with is that the site doesn't look nice until your work is done. In custom home building and custom site design, there is so much that needs to align and come together before the outside of the house is actually pretty and growing pretty things. And in the meantime, if you live in a temperate climate like I do, you will get muddy, to say the least. Like just the other day, I was on site taking elevations and I sunk right out of sight into a wetland area. It's a dirty job. And it doesn't have to do with planting plants. The site is just dirty. So landscaping in general can be very messy, but when you consider the fact that a lot of times you are working on a new site that has no lawn, no hardscaping, just construction gravel or fill, cover and everything. And when you're on site measuring, taking photos, painting lines, siting boulders, siting big trees, and otherwise directing the installation contractor, typically you'll be working in a downright messy situation. Dirt, uneven terrain, puddles of water, construction debris, etc. But your job, take heart, is literally to get that site into shape and to make it livable and enjoyable for your clients by shaping the land and then hardscaping and planting all of the ground surfaces. And once the ground surfaces are finished, you are too. And you get to walk away from your creation knowing that it was your hand that transformed that site into a beautiful and wonderful place for your clients and their friends and family to use and enjoy. So the second thing to consider about landscape design is that the majority of job sites are male dominated. I am usually the only female on a job site before active installation. So during my design phase, I'm coordinating with building architects, site engineers, plumbers, electricians, fence and concrete installers, and the building contractor. And yes, for the most part, all of these people are men. The major exception being interior designers. I have worked with only female interior designers. And I know of female architects and site engineers, but I haven't yet had the opportunity to actually work with them on a job. However, in the past 15 years, I have met 2 female electricians, and very recently, right now in fact, I am working with an assistant plumber who is a lady and a mom of 2. So Mostly the women I interact with are back at the office, answering phone calls and emails and such, but very few women make it out onto the job site. So once I'm done with the design phase and it's time for active landscape install, I might see a woman or two, but they're usually a crew member, so I don't always have direct contact with them. I myself don't have a problem working on male-dominated sites as long as we all have good communication between us, but that would go for any gender. So depending on your preferences for your working relationships, this is just something to keep in mind. And you might even live in an area where you have the exact opposite experience as me, so if you have or if you do, I'd love to hear about it. Okay, so last thing to wrap your head around. As a landscape designer, you are the master coordinator when it comes to creating flow between the indoor and the outdoor environments of a home. You need to think of yourself as the tie that binds together someone's experience as they exit a building and enter the landscape, and vice versa, as they exit the landscape and enter the building. So this is in terms of circulation and outdoor living spaces, yes, but also in terms of the utility areas that service the home's interior living environment. So think buried utility lines, propane tanks, backup house generators, solar panels, electrical meter boxes, heat pump units, HVAC systems, garbage receptacles, the list goes and goes. These are things that everyone wants to have for their home because they make life inside their home easier, but none of these people want to ever see these things. So your job is to hide these utility pieces in the most efficient and tactful way, and of course, according to the local codes that may be in place in your area. So just keep in mind that all of these things will have an effect on the layout of your landscape design, which means they all inadvertently affect the user experience that you're going for. So bottom line, if local code allows, you can and should take a lead role in planning and coordinating the placements of these utility pieces on your job sites. Not only because these utility items usually get placed outside, which is 100% within your jurisdiction, but because their placement should be directly related to the site's topography, the view sheds, and where you can place plants and hardscape, and how you can orchestrate the user experience on these sites. So there you have three things. You have three things I think you need to know about working as a landscape designer. 1, it's a dirty job, and it's only pretty once your part is done. 2, the majority of people on job sites are male, at least in my experience. And lastly, you are the master coordinator and communicator between indoor and outdoor spaces. And I beg you to take a lead role here because seriously, someone needs to, and why shouldn't it be you? You'll have less of a mess to clean up and try to disguise later. So that's all. Thank you so much for joining me and watching Landscape Elevation. And if this content interests you, you may find value in the free guide that I've made, which is on my website, landscapeelevation.com. It's 16 pages of walking you through getting started on the landscape design process. The link is also below, and again, it is 100% completely free. Also, I love hearing from folks in the landscape design community. If you're a landscape designer or you're thinking of becoming one and you have questions or a conversation to start, please share them in the comments below. So thank you again, take care, and I'll see you next time.